I think good stories endure. And Robin Hood has always seemed to be a really good story.
List and hearken, gentlemen, that be of free-born blood. I shall tell you of a good yeoman. His name was Robin Hood. Good evening, I'm Pierce Brosnan. He is a legend that goes by many names. The Earl of Huntingdon, Robin of Locksley, Robert Fitzooth, and Robert Hood. But to centuries of storytellers, he is simply Robin Hood. Who was this outlaw? Did he actually exist? Was he real or just a medieval myth carried on for 800 years? It is a question that scholars still debate today. And for the next hour, we will explore the myth of the hooded man. Was he fact or fiction? Tonight, we will find out.
Journey back in time through historic England to unravel the mystery behind the legend of Robin Hood.
I do believe that Robin Hood existed and that I am related to Robin Hood.
May I ask you to readdress me as sheriff, please?
I'm the one that has seen Robin Hood's grave.
Who was Maid Marian? Is this the grave of Little John? And is this recently discovered 700-year-old document the final proof that Robin Hood was real? Go on location behind the scenes of the most anticipated movie of the year. The stars, the filmmakers, an exclusive look at the making of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And finally, meet Hollywood's hottest leading man, Kevin Costner.
He's just one of those actors that grabs you, you know, you like him.
God, would just give him a 10?
Well, I hope I don't bring a whole end to the legend. That's what I'm like hoping. I know I caught Robin Hood really early in my life. I was really taken with it.
Who is it? What can you see now? Come on! Come on!
Allah be merciful.
To the trees! Come on! Come on! Come on!
How many? Many.
He is a hero. He's a larger-than-life character. I mean, there's even some question as to whether or not he really existed. If he was just something that people created because they needed a hero. You know, a guy who's witty and he's talented, he's strong, and he comes from sort of the upper classes, but he supports the underdog. And he does everything right. And that's what most heroes are like. It's one of the most famous legends in the world. You know, they say there's 7 basic stories, and I don't know what the other 6 are, but I'm sure one of them is Robin Hood.
Other legendary figures like King Arthur, William Tell, and even Jesse James have become part of our modern culture, but none with the romantic flair of Robin Hood and his band of merry men from Sherwood Forest. He robbed the rich to feed the poor, waged war against corruption and injustice, and won the heart of the fair Lady Marian. And when it came to bows and arrows, it is said that Robin was the best in all of England. He could pinpoint a target at 300 yards and hit it dead center.
We do know that 800 years ago, another forest needed to be saved, and a legend was born. The story begins when a wealthy nobleman was murdered in Nottingham, a city ripe with crime and corruption. His son adopted a secret identity and vowed to avenge his father's death. He gathered a few loyal friends to fight against the wicked forces which ruled England at the time. Operating from a secluded hideaway, they would appear out of nowhere to help innocent victims of injustice. Where was King Richard? He was away at the Crusades. Well, that's the familiar tale, but is it true? Was Robin Hood himself real? Most historians agree that the story of Robin Hood is based in truth, but the tale is a fascinating blend of fact and fiction. James Holt is a retired Cambridge University professor and the world's leading authority on Robin Hood. He studied the legend of the Hooded Man for 30 years.
The first reference to Robin Hood comes from the year 1262. And in that first reference, there's no real doubt about it, Robin Hood was used as a criminal alias or nickname. In other words, the name was imposed on a known criminal.
This court document from either the years 1261 or 1262 was discovered just a few years ago. One of the outlaws listed is named Robin Hood, but during the next 40 years, court records throughout England mentioned at least a dozen more rebels with the same name.
What that tells you is that already by 1261, the term "he's a Robin Hood" was being used to describe an outlaw, like he's a hood in the States. And he's a hood in the States comes from it, of course, it's based on the Robin Hood legend.
The legend of an English hood may have started even earlier with the exploits of a tenant farmer turned outlaw, Robin Hood, mentioned in this record of the Court of York on July 25th, 1225. The name reappeared the following year as Hobby Hood, and soon after as Gilbert Robbie Hood.
So if Robin Hood really lived, he must have lived long enough before 1261 for his stories to be in circulation.
And the legends and the stories that develop from that time are perhaps an amalgamation of several of these characters who received the nickname Robin Hood simply because they were outlaws.
Well, it all started as a result of the taxes imposed by the Sheriff of Nottingham, I believe, wasn't it?
I mean, I tend to be a bit of a romantic, so I think, yeah, he's going to be dashing, nice clothes, you know, a really nice character that everybody looked up to.
He used to come in here with Maid Marian and sit by the fire and have a beer, you know, and the Sheriff of Nottingham, of course, he got himself in a fight here one day, so rumour has it, and he was banned from the inn and told never to come back again. So Robin Hood was quite safe here with Maid Marian. This all really happened.
Storytelling in Nottingham continues even today. In the 12th century, it was the primary means of communication, and long before the invention of the printing press, travelling minstrels spread the news through their ballads and stories.
Basically, somewhere between information being passed between villages and people who are good at storytelling adding to that information to turn it into stories. That's where the Robin Hood legend began.
He stole from the rich and gave to the poor. That was what it was about, wasn't it?
That doesn't enter into the legend until 200 years after we first have knowledge of it.
In the 15th century, the May Day festival was carnival time in England. Young people dressed up as two fantasy figures, Robin Hood and Maid Marian, the king and queen of May. Robin and Marian pressured the folks to give money to the church. These collections led people to later say that Robin Hood took from the rich to give to the poor.
She was really pretty and she was in love with Robin Hood.
Maid Marian first appeared in the late 15th century at the May Festival. The outlaws' devotion to this spirited young maiden made their love story one that would last through the ages.
She vows chastity until they become married, and therefore she takes the name Maid Marian.
It is said that Robin's closest friend, Little John, lies buried in a 14-foot-long grave dating back to medieval times. When exhumed in 1784, all that remained was an extremely large human thigh bone. Today in Sherwood Forest, the last remaining physical link to the legend of Robin Hood is a giant oak tree, said to be Robin's actual gathering place. In Nottingham, a few special citizens keep the spirit and the legend alive in their own unique way.
I do believe that Robin Hood existed, and that I am related to Robin Hood.
May I ask you to address me as Sheriff, please? That's my title, if you don't mind.
Many experts claim to have seen the grave, but I'm the only one that has seen Robin Hood's grave. He's a symbol again of right and wrong. So that will keep him alive, I think. Now, it may be fiction, it may be escapism, but it's always going to be with us. It's none the worse for what it is.
He started writing the ballads, then they were turned into prose, then they became plays, then they became silent movies. Then, you know, each generation would add to it.
At the turn of this century, cinema was a new phenomenon. Even then, filmmakers were looking for a blockbuster film to bring people to see their product. What better idea than Robin Hood? Now, many people think that the first Robin Hood was the 1922 version starring Douglas Fairbanks. In fact, there were 5 silent Robin films prior to Fairbanks. 3 were British films, and 2 were from Hollywood. Bringing Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, to the silver screen was just about as difficult as... well, it was just about as difficult as Robin Hood's legendary fight with Little John to gain control of the band of merry men of Sherwood Forest. The props, the costumes, the weapons, all had to create a strikingly authentic 13th century England.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, was shot on location throughout England, including historic grounds that have been protected since the time of William the Conqueror. The city of Nottingham was faithfully recreated on the backlots of Shepperton Studios.
Roll please, roll cameras. 611, take 1, see cameras.
This undertaking was no small task. It took 4 months of grueling filming and an army of workers in merry old England that rivaled the once mighty Sheriff of Nottingham.
To reproduce an accurate portrayal of 12th century England, including realistic clothing, Robin Hood's traditional costume became an unrealistic choice.
You see pictures of Robin Hood and the Merry Men, and you know what I mean? And the guys in the little tights and the green pixie shoes and the little hat with the feathers, and not likely.
People assumed, for some bizarre reason, that he would be wearing tights in this movie. We'd had agents of actors expressing interest or disinterest in the movie based on how they felt their clients would look in tights.
I was expecting to see a whole new direction on the Robin Hood costume, and
I had just in the fitting room, on the fitting room floor, in there, a pair of green tights and a pointed hat with a feather. And I said, "Well, Kevin," and he looked at me and he said, "Well, John."
I had just been told that this guy had a very good take and a new take on how Robin should be, and so they all got a very good laugh out of that.
Yeah, we just wanted to horrify him.
And it honestly never occurred to any of the filmmakers for a single second to put our Robin Hood in tights. It just isn't that kind of movie.
The clothes make the man.
The filmmaker's goal was to create an authentic 13th century world, paying close attention to even the smallest of details. For instance, all the bows and arrows, well, they all had to be made to the actual sizes, which were 5 foot 6 inches, true to the period. Also, at that time, a full-grown cow would have been the same size as a Great Dane. Well, even though some of these cows were only going to be in the background of a few of the shots, the filmmakers searched for weeks for, well, short cows.
It was tough. There's no question. It was the hardest picture I've ever worked on. When you're shooting a sequence, one of the best feelings is when you watch something unfold before your eyes and you really get excited and into it and you see it working. I mean, that's why I do it, is because those sort of ephemeral moments that are there and then they're suddenly gone, and hopefully you captured them on film.
Go. When he fires, boom.
He was making a film, and I wanted to come out here and help.
Boom. First one, back on him. Pulls the second one over his shoulder. Boom.
We're lucky because when we work together, we can speak in a certain kind of shorthand that only comes with knowing someone. And it's great because we can just be completely open with each other and say, no, I don't like that, or yeah, that's great.
Boom. And then you turn here. Whack. And then he goes on up the hill.
This isn't the first time the Kevins have worked together. Previously, they teamed up for Fandango, Costner's first leading role.
Well, it's funny because I had actually known Kevin a couple years before we did Fandango. When I was doing a student film at USC, he came in and read for it. Yeah, and it was the role was between he and another guy, and I cast the other guy.
I'm not very good at this.
How are we going to cook it? Kevin's a real visionary and has a real force of will that's very attractive to me. It's magical and it's fun, and I find him really inventive, and we kind of have the relationship that's if he can think of it, I can do it.
I'm proud of a lot of the work that we did. It was very grueling. It was very difficult. Yeah, I'd say I'm proud of what we did.
Cut!
Flashing!
808, take 3, hold an 8.
Okay. Print all 3, please.
Okay.
Very high on the harp. E, F, A, B, ring. I need a G to D pickup as if you're in bar 110.
You probably don't know his name, but you definitely know his music. Michael Kamen has composed musical scores for some of Hollywood's most successful films, among them Lethal Weapon and Die Hard.
The music is the last ingredient that can help to extract the emotions from the characters. If they're falling in love, you gush for them, and if they're crying, you weep silently for them. And that's why it's called underscore. It's more like underlining an emotion. Here we go.
Capturing the emotion required some dedicated musicians, 110 to be exact. Here, they are creating a romantic feel for a pivotal scene between Robin and Maid Marian.
The basic theme is really simple. It's just very rarely gets any more involved than that. I play it on this and then put it on score and turn it into musical instruments. It's big, it's full of heroics and power and real compassion. I've carried an idea of who Robin Hood is in my mind since I was 6, so that's a pretty strong vision to have musically. Let's go listen to it. So this is how I do it. They give me the picture with these bar of timings underneath it. That's how I know when I'm supposed to be in, when I'm supposed to stop, and when I'm supposed to hit something. The orchestra loves playing flat out for long periods of time. They'll play anything, but they love just running. It's like getting on a horse and galloping. So this is what it feels like to us on the floor. There's this lovely episode where Maid Marian follows Robin Hood into his camp in the woods. He sees her off by the lake. Robin asks her for 2 favors. She says, yes, okay, I'll do the first one. And he said, I need you to get a message. Will you do this for the king? And she looks at him hard and she goes,
No. I'll do it for you.
And we've been building it up. Pages and pages and pages of music. And finally she kisses him. And that's where the score turns black with notes and everybody goes. This is a work of love. This has come from the heart. This is something that I really, really care about. Music is a real substance. It's a very powerful substance, and it's got to be taken seriously. I guess I was in love with Maid Marian, and just looking at Kevin Costner giving her a big kiss and thinking, oh man, that's as close as I'll get to her. I love that.
My personal reason for doing Robin Hood was that genuinely inside me was a desire to create the myth of Robin Hood again as I believed it could have happened.
This is your sort of the childhood dream of making movies, is to make an action movie, you know what I mean? You know, sword fighting and shooting bows and arrows and riding horses and jumping fences and, you know, that's fun.
Join us now!
Morgan Freeman portrays Robin's trusted friend, Azim, a wise warrior from North Africa.
Join Robin Hood!
It's his opinion I saved his life, and his religious beliefs are such that
he dedicates his life to repaying that debt, the debt of life.
Azim! It's time to redeem that vow!
Well, he of course feigns uselessness, but he's always got an eye on me, and from his point of view would not have let anything happen to me.
Any great ideas? Get up! Move faster!
Move faster. Great idea.
I can't do this with all that racket!
Alan Rickman portrays a truly evil sheriff of Nottingham who dabbles in murder and black magic.
I'm not playing a villain. I'm just playing somebody who has a certain checklist of things that he wants in life, and he goes after them. And other people say, like Robin Hood decides, that's appalling and it must be stopped.
I consciously wanted the Sheriff of Nottingham to be something more than a one-dimensional Darth Vader bad guy. He brings a lot of humor to the part, but a lot of wickedness at the same time, so that he's a lot of fun to watch.
That's it. Cancel the kitchen scraps for lepers and orphans. No more merciful beheadings. And call off Christmas.
There's a price on your head.
How much?
100 gold pieces.
Is that all? This will be 1,000.
For 1,000, I would turn you in myself.
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio plays a very independent Maid Marian.
She isn't much like him. I don't think she much trusts any man anyway, so, and there's no reason to, you know. They've all gone off and left me. So she's, and they, little by little, I guess there's something about him that she kind of fancies.
Yes! Beautiful shot. God!
And Christian Slater rounds out the cast as the mysterious Will Scarlet.
We're not really like expert robbers, you know. Robin sort of teaches us the skills that we haven't yet acquired, you know.
Recognize this? I shall never fear my father's sword.
I'd like to believe there was a guy like that, yeah. I don't know anybody that wouldn't.
What is it that has allowed this character of Robin Hood to exist for 7 centuries? Well, for one thing, he stood up for the common man. He was fearless in battle, but yet he was a compassionate friend. He was a free-spirited adventurer, but had a pledge for only one woman. And yet he was considered a rebel with a cause. It can be said that Kevin Costner, the new Robin Hood, is also a rebel with a cause. He bucked the Hollywood system, didn't he? Fearless in battle, and made Dances with Wolves, a film given not much chance of succeeding at the box office. Well, 7 Oscars later, Kevin is still a family man and has garnered huge popularity by his on-screen portrayals.
This is a story about an unusual actor who loves to do his own stunts.
As long as he's doing the action, I think he's happy, and he wants to be up there amongst it. So you have to make sure that he's safe while he's doing it. But he has tremendous courage and a great deal of the swashbuckling attitude that Robin Hood needs. He's got it.
I do a lot of bareback riding because I steal a horse.
Sea caving on a horse is great. I mean, he is such a brilliant rider.
And we've thought up a couple of new inventions where I run over the backs of 4 standing horses, which is not easy, and then jump into the saddle of another one, or the sheriff's horse, actually, a white stallion. kick the man that's holding it and burst out of town, steal a sack of things and swing it and knock a guy. But let's see, big music stuff. Okay, Kev.
Yeah.
Is the reason I haven't delivered a blow myself is because his sword is so powerful?
Yep. That's it. It's so big.
I haven't got a lick in.
Kevin had done most things before in his life, but swords I don't think was one of them.
And that's not even hard.
Right. Well, it felt kind of silly because you guys had your camera on me, and I was thinking, geez, that's funny. People film me practicing. People don't see the work behind what goes into the finished product, so you see all the clumsiness and all that stuff. Let's try it one more time. Where is she? The lady. Pick a slower man. Pick a smaller man. Pick a dumber man, and you usually can win.
And action!
Kevin is so right for the role. We never really questioned it for a second. When you see him with the bow and arrow in his arm, and you just know that Kevin Costner is Robin Hood.
It's the one of recognition whenever you think of Robin Hood. It's the weapon of choice, I guess. It's the one he's the most proficient at.
And you fire one arrow like that, and then you take off down the hill looking over your shoulder and head that direction, okay?
Day 2, and we were burning the village, and Kevin was there, and he was showing me his new bow and his new outfit, and he was so proud of it. And I said, well, do you know how to shoot that thing? And he said, sure. So he just pulls an arrow out of his quiver, and he turned around, and there was a rabbit hanging on a hut about, I don't know, it had to be 30 yards away, and I said, shoot that rabbit. So he turned around and just nonchalantly drilled this, stuffed rabbit from about 30 yards. I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, do it again. So he laughed and declined, just like that.
Do you think you do anything like stylistic where you take 3 and go boom into the ground, go 1, 2, pull off the ground? Do you think he'd do anything that was very much like the Crusades? You realize what he's doing?
Yeah.
He just takes 3 out and goes, and he takes 1, boom.
We were shooting the sequence between he and Little John where they battle in the river.
Done a lot of things in my career, none any harder than that.
You can't really tell when you see the scene now, but that water was about 32 degrees.
You're talking about 10 hours a day in the water.
And we shot for 4 or 5 days.
From the get-go, I fall in the water.
Between takes, he was so cold that his hands would cramp up.
It was really cold.
Make it a background.
Okay, now.
Roll, please.
390, take 4.
Action.
Oh, bugger. Never seen so much.
Performing stunts as Hollywood's leading man has other pitfalls as well.
I gotta kick him in the face, It's kind of strange, to sit there and go, hi, Kevin, how are you? Bap! And then go running off.
We have much to celebrate.
Yeah. If you wish to share the good Lord's brew, you must best be for it. Oh, my Lord!
And cut.
What does it say? I get the
out of me. Even though Kevin Costner has struck Oscar gold and his career is exploding, he remains a man with a strength of character, not unlike the roles he chooses to portray.
And he can pull it off. It's not like he'll stand there for the close-ups and then calls for the double, for the difficult stuff, He does it all, with a certain amount of panache. He's really good at what he does.
I don't know. He's just one of those actors that grabs you, you like him.
I would just give him a 10.
Well, I hope I don't bring a whole end to the legend. That's what I'm hoping.
Well done. Well done.
amidst the darkest glades of Sherwood Green, in the deepest part of the wood, some say can still be seen the ghost of Robin Hood. So, did Robin Hood really exist? Do we really want to know, after all, if it were to be proven that he did not exist, and that has never been proven? Who would fight for the underdog? Who would wage war against corruption and tyranny? Who would prove that chivalry is not dead? Robin was not only a celebrity, but also a character of mystery. He lives on in our children and in our children's children. 800 years ago, in a dark forest in medieval England, there lived a hero. A man so remarkable that his name and his story became a legend. A legend that will live on forever. And tomorrow night, with the premiere of Robin Hood, the Prince of Thieves, Kevin Costner will be the next to string the bow, ignite our imaginations, and continue the legacy. Long live Robin Hood. I'm Pierce Brosnan.